Hi everyone, welcome back to what is episode 8 of TCE Talks. I don't think I've ever taken the time to introduce myself. In all the time I've done this YouTube channel, I've never gone, "Hi, my name's Rich. I'm a trumpet player from the UK." So there you go, you got it. That's everything. If you want to learn more about me as an individual, you can probably find out stuff from my website, or just drop me an email. We'll chat. We'll have a talk. I don't see this channel as being about me, so that's why I always fail to introduce myself. There's no personal approach here. Just an idiot with a microphone. Okay, so the topic of today's talk is that of elitism in the teaching of the TCE. I kind of brushed on this last time when I was talking about all the various three-letter acronyms, the TCE, the MSc, the True Power Trumpet, and all the rest. And I think one of the points I failed to make is that maybe we can just look at all of those different terminologies as being like landmarks. That they all carry their own definitions. We could say that the Master Super Chops approach was one of the only times when Jerry recommended people keep the tip of the tongue behind the teeth. But it was very much focused on the idea of the tongue wedge, which I don't see talked about much these days. More, it tends to be that Ralph certainly talks about pushing the tongue into the lip, which will have the effect of thickening and widening the tongue. We're going to have the same effect there. It's that tongue wedge. It's the idea that the tongue going between the teeth isn't simply just being there. It's there to do a job, and that is to resist the flow of air, to control the release of pressurized air. Anyway, let's not go back into all of last week's episode. I found I didn't actually make notes for that episode because I'd spent a bit of time in the car thinking about it, and I thought I had it all pretty planned out in my mind, and actually doesn't seem like that was the case. As it happens, I'm not super happy with the structure of that talk, or I'm not sure I even got to the point. But that happens. Let's not delete it. Let's just keep it there, and hopefully it will spark some questions that I can answer in upcoming episodes. So literally already forgotten whether or not I've mentioned that this topic today is that of elitism in teaching of the TCE. Now, this is I would start off by I'd hasten to add that it's the perception of elitism in the teaching of the TCE. Well, I want to get to it by mentioning a conversation that I had with Jeff Smiley once. So Jeff Smiley of Balanced Embouchure fame. He said two things to me in that conversation, which I think are pertinent to the topic. One of which, he was the first person to point out to me that the TCE is a very extremist approach to playing. It has, we've gone off in a direction not only that contradicts traditional teaching somewhat, but basically we've gone off in that direction and never stopped going. So when you look at something like, say, the teachings of Claude Gordon, something he said to his pupils was, this is not the end. It doesn't stop with me. Take it further than I have, this sort of idea. And I think that maybe a similar sentiment is echoed in at least in principle when looking at the work of Doc Reinhardt, because he wrote his encyclopedia of the pivot system, but from what I've heard, by the time he was retiring, or I don't know the story particularly well, but he knew as much knowledge again that he could write another book on top of the book that already existed, and obviously he had evolved some of his ideas as well. I'm not an expert on that topic, so I won't talk on it because it's inappropriate. But the sentiment is, let's not stop going, and I think that maybe that's something that's kind of happened with Super Chops, is that in the 70s Jerome Kallett discovered a unique and wonderful new way to play the trumpet, but he didn't stop there. He didn't just spend the next 50 years promoting trumpet yoga, which probably would have made it much more established, and probably would have, there would be many more experts on the topic, and it would be better understood. There would be people doing more legitimate research into it rather than just including it as a side note on an essay about pedal tones. But what Jerry did is he continued to innovate, and he continued to try to find new ways to show others what he had discovered, essentially. Because this is it, is what we are going after here is a physical sensation. It's not really possible for you to tell me how it feels when you play. But Jerry Hallett tried very hard to tell people how it felt when he played for the best part of 50 years. And the result of that is what looks like the descent into madness. But it is just something, what Bob Civiletti said to me in 2018 in a conversation I've got recorded, is that all of these developments as such, all of these different understandings are little more than somebody becoming more and more aware of what it is they're doing, and feeling that out from different perspectives, which is a very difficult thing to do. But drawing on my own experience as a teacher of the TCE, people will very often come to me and they'll just say, I just don't know what I'm doing with my tongue when I play. I can't feel it. I'm like, well, that's the mission, is to start feeling it and to start understanding and to start recognizing that, yeah, this works and this doesn't. Or to start going, oh yeah, that is actually quite tense. Maybe I could find a way to stop that being the case. And so, we've got our little set of ideals and we move in the right direction. Which sort of, circles us back to the subject of Jeff Smiley, because that's essentially what his approach is that with the balanced embouchure, is to get things basically right and then make you practice, which I don't think is a bad approach at all, because that's really the only tool we have with developing as an instrumentalist, is practice. And so the approach with the TCE may be that I'm practicing Einsätzen, Ansätzen, or I'm practicing, I'm not going to say various tongue positions, but I'm practicing being aware of what my tongue is doing. So I in my own practice, what I've found is that I tend to go round and round in circles, in terms of one day I'll be focused on the tip of the tongue. The next day, or some weeks later, I'll be more concerned about feeling the sides of the tongue touching either the top teeth at the back, or feeling the sides of the tongue at the front touching the corners of the mouth. Other days I'll be focused entirely on the air. I'll be focused on, trying to eliminate tension in the chest, and all these sorts of things. And at any given point, your focus will be the most important thing, because you may be overcompensating for it in some different area. And I suppose that really it does also include changes of equipment. So, if I was to go and play a classical gig and I got my legacy model mouthpiece and practiced on that for a couple of weeks, it's going to reveal different habits to me that the artiste model that I use most of the time doesn't. And actually, thinking about that exact topic, I've been using the legacy mouthpiece for a month or so, including a bunch of gigs with Mango Factory. And I got out my artiste the other day to warm up on, and I don't want to say I found it too easy to use, but I noticed that I was using more force. And so this is the art of using a small mouthpiece, is if you really have to learn to back off the air, back off everything, so that you can find that point where the notes resonate easiest. And and it's going to take a little bit of time to adapt back to using that shallower mouthpiece. But this is all in the, what are the words? The point is, I'm really just trying to constantly develop awareness. I need to be aware of of how I'm changing physically and mentally at any point. And yeah, so this is how and why we end up with all these different and what may at times seem like contradictory instructions about where to put the tongue, about how to hold the lips, about not setting the lips, or about putting them in one position or the other. I've been told polar opposites by Jerry Callett on that topic. Anyway, right, so here's the thing. Just to actually answer the question, why are we so elitist in our approach to playing? As in, I've told you that you're going to relax your face, put your tongue in contact with your lips, and spit as a means of as a primary means of note production. And I'm going to get you to do Einsätze and Ansätze and double pedal tones, and you must use the two different embouches. And more to the point, I really want you to stop playing single pedal tones, because it contradicts what we're going after with the Einsätze and Ansätze, and essentially it contradicts the whole principle of the TCE in ways that I'm not going to describe now. So stop doing single pedal tones, please. It will cause you more harm than good if what you're trying to do is TCE. So here's a whole list of rules, and here's a whole list of things, and then somebody will play me an exercise, and I'll go, no, that was wrong. You went doigt, 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 and you didn't go tat, tat, tat. And it's we want you to play more staccato, and I know that when you play music, that's not what you're being told to do, but this is an exercise. It's developing muscles. The reason I have to be so particular about this, first of all, is because I was that particular about it with myself, and I know that is the only way to make it work, is you have to be all in for a while. You have to follow this path. You have to develop the muscles before you can before you can start to have an opinion about anything. You have to get it working. And as a teacher, I cannot see what is happening inside of your mouth. I think I may have mentioned the opinion in a previous video about how what you see on the outside is secondary to what happens on the inside. Chickens, eggs, carts and horses and all that business. If somebody is using the correct facial muscles, I can see it, but they're only going to use the correct facial muscles as a result of, let's say, the correct application of air. And they may only be able to achieve the correct application of air by using the correct tongue position. And the only indicator that a teacher has when teaching the TCE is the sound. And so if someone comes to me and goes, oh, it sounds too harsh. Oh, it sounds, it's not appropriate for this. And somebody told me that. Somebody was offended by my mouthpiece is something I hear a lot. And it's like, well, first of all, you're a work in progress. That means two things. It means that you're allowed to make decisions for yourself that appease to others if that's what you have to do right now. But also, when you go through this process and come out the other side, you'll understand why it was necessary to go through the process. But I can't use my own experience as the only experience to guide you. You need to sort of go through this stuff and develop the awareness, etc. And so, the only thing that I have as a teacher, in order to know whether you're on a path of development that will garner the results that you want, is to insist that you use certain equipment, is to insist that you breathe in a certain way, is to insist that you really are moving your tongue even if you don't think you are, is to insist that, yes, I know what I'm saying when I'm telling you not to move your tongue. Yes, it's in the way. That's the point. It's supposed to be uncomfortable for a while. I actually found, when I first started with this stuff, as I said before, I started with the instructions from the Mastering Super Chops DVD. And it was a really uncomfortable way to play for quite a few months. but you get used to it. You after a while, it becomes normal. I mean, this is kind of the point: is that different is good. Different is development. If you carry on doing the same thing and expecting different results, you're not going to get very far, because that's not how things work. And because the TCE represents the extreme end of a sliding scale when it comes to approaches to playing, it's got to feel extremely weird to do. And, that's why many people will start to bring in words like right and wrong. They can't believe that it is right. Because it feels so strange, or they can't believe that it's right, or that it works at all because it's so different. But this is one of the reasons I kind of latched on to Lynn Nicholson's stuff for a while, is because Lynn says that traditional methods will get you traditional results, or words to that effect. I'm paraphrasing somewhat, and it may actually have been Mark Van Cleef that said that. But and there's definitely a Lynn Nicholson rant out there that says, if you want extreme results, you have to do something extreme to get them. And that does not mean, hours and months of playing Herbert Clark. Because, yes, that could, if you have the withdrawal about you, turn you into a very clean player with fantastic technique. And it's all essential work. It's essential work that I myself have done 20 years ago, and I still see players today coming out of college who don't have a very good control of their fingers, which is unfortunate, because they'll never have enough time to practice again. But that Herbert Clark stuff isn't going to give you a double high C, and I know I try to make this be about something else. But it's just, so many people come to the TCE camp because that's what they want, is they want extreme upper register. And you're not going to get something extreme unless you do something extreme to get it. So there we go. I think that maybe one of the funny things about all of this is that most players don't want anything extreme. They just want to do the simple things well. And that's why I'm often reluctant to say, you know what you're getting into here. It's like, so I'm reluctant to put them on this path, and I say to them, do you know what you're getting yourself into here? Because you have to be a little bit obsessed, or a lot obsessed, and you have to be willing to dislike what comes out of your instrument a lot of the time. But this is the thing, is that I think I'll tie it up with this. Time and again, I'm constantly shocked when I hear recordings of myself playing with ensembles, and the way that the trumpet it stands out, the way that it occupies the correct space in the audio spectrum in a way that it means I don't have to work hard to be heard. It's really quite remarkable. And I'm often also surprised at the number of compliments I get from classical musicians when I go to in the past have gone to a gig and played first trumpet in an orchestra with a Super Chops 3 mouthpiece. And I'm sat there thinking, I don't know if I'm going to get away with this, until the oboe player comes up to me and says, I've never been able to blend with a trumpeter before. How you do, why do you sound so different? It's like, well, I'm quite a different player. Or I get conductors saying to me, oh, I love how you have that French sound. And I'll let you interpret what that means. Or another time, I think I was playing, I don't remember what it was. I was playing in a symphony orchestra, and there was just some sort of simple octave stuff, and the conductor at the end came to me and said, "Oh, I love the clarity of your attacks. I don't hear that from many trumpet players." I think, well, that's because many trumpet players are really offended by practicing strong attacks, strong articulation. And I'm not saying that I play in that way that we practice the TCE, because I don't. But my body knows how to make that happen because I practice it. And so when I need to be strident, when I need to have a clear tone, it's available to me. So this is the thing I often say to people is, with the TCE, we come at things from the opposite direction. And I promise I'll end this all soon. At the TCE, we come at things from the opposite direction. And so, we can do strong and loud and high and harsh, and then choose not to. But this is the thing, is if you've spent your life practicing soft and clean and, sweet sounding, you don't have the choice of flicking that switch and turning the gas on, because you don't have any gas to turn on. And so, I can choose not to play this way, but you can't choose to play this way if you haven't learned to do it. And that's fundamentally why I, will choose a more extreme approach to playing in my practice, because it gives me abilities that other players don't have, and it's as simple as that. So hopefully I've tied up some of the arguments from the previous episode, and given a little bit more perspective to why we have to be so extreme. And I think what I mean by that is it's really hard to get a mark of approval. And actually that's evident in the fact that I have played for Bob Civiletti, I've played for Ralph Salamoni, I've played for Silas Xavier, and they've all at one point or another given me their seal of approval, for 2 out of those 3 people to then turn around and well, at least one of those people has definitely claimed that I don't know what I'm talking about. And I reckon that maybe they just don't realize I'm the same person. They've forgotten who I am as such. But the reason we behave in this way is because we want people to experience the sensation of doing it right. And I think that maybe for some other people, those maybe people on that list that aren't me, they want everyone to play in the perfect a perfect example of TCE at all times, and I put my money more on Bob Civiletti's approach when he says, you should do what is required of you to put food on the table. At the end of the day, he says your job is to trade notes for dollars. And so if you're doing something that's going to jeopardize your ability to make money playing music, you should probably stop doing it. And I think that, maybe what that refers to is turning up to a symphony orchestra with a lead trumpet mouthpiece. But if you can make it work. All right, thanks for watching. Please take a look at my websites. Please like the video and subscribe so that I can get useful statistics about my viewers and make my content more appropriate for you. And I will speak to you all soon. I'll speak to you all, I was going to say next week, but I know I'm not actually publishing this until... This is probably the last episode before Christmas. Or maybe the last episode is the last episode before Christmas. I should really have a look at my calendar. And so if I take a break over Christmas, I'll definitely be back in the new year. Speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching.